do love the turnaround. I don't care what it is, you know. Boy, am I sounding bassy. It's the Great Vanzini. I'm back with yet another Gretsch. This is a 5120. It's about 10 years old. It was the first, I think these were the first series of Gretsches in the 5000 series. And I bought it at Guitar Center up in Portland. And they had two orange ones. I really wanted an orange one. Oh man, did I want an orange one. And they had two orange ones and this black one. And I'm not a big fan of black guitars. I'm not a fan of white guitars. I prefer, I'm kind of old, stuck in my ways kind of guy. I prefer, cherry red, sunburst. I do like that Gretsch smoke green, and a few others that are like that, that are a little different. But the one needed one of the orange ones needed a real bad setup, and it just buzzed, and I really questioned whether I could make the bridge adjustment and the truss rod adjustment, and I'd really be doing a dance to get it to work right. Probably could take it in and have somebody else do it who really knew what they were doing more than I did or do. And that might work, but I didn't really want to take that chance. And the other orange one had a neck that when you looked down it took turns, and it went to the left and to the right. It just had a twisted neck on it, and so that wasn't acceptable. This one had been previously sold, yet they were asking the new price for it. And I almost walked out on it, and I'm glad I didn't. Somebody had purchased it. They had had a complete setup, neck adjustment, had the bridge adjusted, put new strings on it to make it more playable to their satisfaction. And then I guess with the 30-day return policy, they returned it within 30 days. And so at first I wasn't going to buy it, and then right at the end the guy said, well, it does have the case. It was like they had bought a third-party case, a THL or TKL or something like that. That was a perfect fit for it. So I got it for the new price, but I got the free case, and it was perfectly set up, and it played so well. I've never done anything to this guitar in all the years I've owned it. I only take it out and play it, 3-4 times a year, just to make sure it's not too neglected. And it's just not one I play. It sounds great. On their stats, I looked up some stats on it, and it claims these are Gretsch humbuckers. They don't claim to be Filtertrons. When I bought them, their advertising, as I recall, said they were Filtertron-like pickups or something like that. Not to be confused with the newer pickups they have, the Broadtrons. Those are fairly new. This is nice. I mean, it's got a lot of good old style Gretsch things going for it. It came with a clear, and I still have it, the clear pick guard, which I didn't care for, but it wasn't really noticeable when you were playing it if you played live. I just ordered one off of eBay, and back in those days, I think I paid like $10 or $12 for it or something like that. And it pretty well matches the binding on the body and the neck. It's kind of that slightly off-white. It's maybe a hair whiter than the binding, because the binding's got just a pinch of cream in it. But anyway, it was a perfect fit. I do wish it said Gretsch or had a G on it or something like that. It's got the knurled knobs, like the old-style Gretsch knobs that I like. The new ones have, some of the new ones and the streamliners have plastic acrylic kind of knobs. I don't mind those. They're fine. They work, but I just prefer these. There's no binding on the F-holes, and there's really no binding up around the headstock. It's got fairly cheap, I think this was made in Korea back in the day. And it's got those open tuners, which I'm not real fond of. If I were going to upgrade, I'd probably start right there with some better quality, maybe locking tuners. Locking tuners can really help out when you're messing with a Bigsby. So it's a Bigsby B60, I think, as I recall. The scale length on these in the 5000 series is really interesting. In the streamliners, they're all 24 3/4, just like a lot of normal guitars, 24 3/4. This one is 24.56. I don't know where they get that. I don't know if that's some old tradition from Gretsch, or it just happened to be they wanted so many millimeters and that's what it came out to be, or something like that. And I'm going to show a newer version of this in the next video, and it's got almost the same scale length, but it's just a hair different. It's like 24.6 instead of 24.56, and I don't know where they came up with that. This has the same knobs, master volume right down here. It's got a master tone. It's got master or volume for the bridge pickup and volume for the neck pickup. Now on the streamliners, if you're playing in the middle position and you turn one of these pickups all the way off, it cuts all the stuff off. So we're going to see, yep, even way back when it does that. I don't think they're new 5000 ones. I don't think it works that way. Getting a little scratchiness in the three-way toggle. Pretty amazing on these low-end guitars. On the Gretsch side, generally these have done really well. These three-way toggles. On other makes, I've used the three-way toggle and they go bad in about a year. So that would be, on some guitars, that would be the first thing I might replace. And on other guitars, I've actually had to replace them within a year. So my place is really dusty though too, and it doesn't matter how much I dust. It's all gas heat. It's not central even. It's just gas heater in every room. And I don't know if that has something to do with it. I have air purifiers that I run in each room, and I sweep up the dust. And 3 weeks later, I look down and there's dust everywhere. This is really old dust. This is ancient dust. And I noticed I've not taken the styrofoam slip out of the. And that's not tape, but it's just that little strip in there under the bridge. It's real easy to do. You just loosen up the strings, you pick up the bridge and slide it out and put it back down, and hope you put it back down in the right place so it stays intonated. The new Gretsches, even the streamliners, all have pinned bridges, and that's just a couple little pimple things that stick out that the bridge, I don't know if the pimples, I think the pimples are on the body and the bridge sits on it. I could be off on that. My memory may be fooling me. This has, I think this is all maple laminates. Yeah, everything is laminated maple. It's a 16-inch wide body, 2 3/4 inches deep. It's a nice deep. I mean, if a guy wanted to do something jazzy, you could put on some jazzy strings, and if you wanted a Bigsby with flat wounds, I don't know how that would be. I don't know. Back in the 60s. 60s, you know, some surf bands used flat wounds. I think they were lighter gauge ones though. 22 frets. It does have the parallel tone bar with the sound post. I have gotten something on my glasses. I'm not sure what. Anyway, they now call these chrome covered dual coil humbuckers, and I'm pretty sure back in the day they were claiming that they were some sort of Filtertron or Filtertron-like or something like that. And it does have a little bit of that Gretschiness quality to it. I like it. Rosewood based Adjustomatic bridge. It's a rosewood fretboard, and it is a laminated maple neck. The new ones have NATO, on the streamliners anyway, are a NATO neck and a laurel fretboard, and laurel is a wood that's distantly, I don't know how distant, but somewhat related to rosewood. And quite frankly, if I look at my new ones and I look at this, I cannot see a bit of difference in them. They look identical. This has the black stock overlay, the headstock, black headstock overlay. I have no idea what that means. That sounds like it's really fancy. But in fact, the only thing is it has Gretsch here, and it has the Electromatic in the middle. And other than that, that's a plain old headstock. Nothing fancy there at all. It's nice. It works. It's very good. Today I'm playing through, I'm still using the Space Echo. I love the Space Echo. Just for a little bit of, I'm using not a brand new amp, but a brand new amp that I'm using here for the YouTube. It's a Quilter Microblock 45. That's a 45 watt amp. And because I'm going through an 8 ohm 12-inch speaker, Fender speaker, it's only 33 watts, which I thought was odd. Usually when you go from 4 ohms to 8 ohms, you cut your watts in half. So I figured, well, it'll be a 22.5 watt amp. But in fact, Quilter, in his madness, he always has some madness about him. Him and Jason Lawler, they're my two mad scientists that I like. It's maintained at 33 watts when you go from 4 ohms to 8 ohms. So I don't know what to think of that. I think that's about it. Thumbnail inlays, I said that. I pointed out the bridges. There's probably something I'm forgetting. Did the tuners. Got rid of the clear plexi. I don't think the clear plexi one that came with it didn't say Gretsch on it either. I mean, if they'd just put a G, you know, that symbol that they put anything on there would have been just great. So this is pretty cool. Now it will take gain really well. I don't know if it will through a solid state little amp like this. You have to push it up quite a bit. You get a pinch of gain, oddly enough, that does not sound bad early on, but if you really crank it up, then it starts to get a little messy. Once again, I forgot a pick. Oh, there. You get past... yeah, you get down to about, on a scale of 1 to 10, you get down to 9, and then the gain. Gain starts to pick up. And it's not necessarily good. Is compressing, because if it's not, you just all went deaf. We'll see when I load it up. Anyway, I like to use just a tiny pinch of gain that gives me some semblance of having a tube amps that's just maybe lightly breaking up. And to me, that's the goal of solid state, is to come up with that. And I'm not, there's been a few things I've heard that if it just had gain at a lower level, it's like the gain, there's no gain, and then it really all kicks in really quick. So yeah, I think I'm going to do a lesson. Oh, I was going to talk about my favorite, I don't have the list here now, darn it, I'm going to miss somebody. But some of my favorite Gretsch players, and I know there's a lot of guys that play solid bodies that are in, you know, some pretty heavy. I like the more melodic guys. And so, you know, there's the obvious suspects, the usual suspects, Chet Atkins and Brian Setzer and many others. There's a guy that was married to Imelda May. Gosh, what is his name now? I'm forgetting it. Darrel? Higham? Higham is the last name. Here in the United States, we'd probably pronounce it Higham, but I actually heard him being interviewed, and they pronounce it Higham. And he's a very good guitarist. And if you've never heard Cousin Harley with Paul Pigot, I think is his name, he's really good. And he has some how to play rockabilly. And I you know, some of the old rockabilly I'm not that big on, but I kind of like that jump blues and swing kind of stuff. And he has a DVD out that's really, really good. And the other guy is, and you can find a lot of him on the internet here, Paul Pigot, P-I-G-A-T. I'm going to misspell it, G-O-T. I don't remember, G-O-T, I think. And one of my all-time favorite guys, he doesn't play live, he just does lessons and gives you licks, is Damian Bacci, B-O-C-C-I, here on YouTube. And he has lots of, well, he doesn't have a lot, he's got like two or three how-to DVDs. I've got 2 of them, and they're just great. But, you know, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Just watch his YouTube videos, and he just really does a lot of old school basic rock that I love to watch. And occasionally I get a lick. I get to cop a lick off him. So that's it. I think we're already at 18 minutes. I keep saying, man, I'm going to keep these down below 10, and I never get there. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask about them. If you want to complain about solid state tone, you can do that too. I'm okay with that. When I'm sitting around home, I got only a couple of really small tube amps that were really meant for studio use. And one was a Vox AC10 and the other's a little Fender XD something combo and a head. And I run that through a Dr. Z 12-inch speaker rated at 25 watts. And that handles it really nicely, and it sounds really good. So if you want to power up, you output through a couple of not TC Electronics. What's it called? The New York, the one that makes the power engine and the Sans amp. Anyway, and you can output some small amp through one of those, and they just kind of copy the sound of your amp and output it, and but instead of a 10 watt thing, it gives you an extra 60 watts. And you can daisy chain them together like I've tried to do, and 2 of them daisy chained together give you 120 watts, and that's when it gets really crazy. You can really start fires with that. So yeah, any questions or anything, feel free to leave them down below. I'll try to answer them. I'm not a Gretsch expert. This just happens to be where I started. We'll see how that microphone compresses. I'm using a little Rode. So this is a Gretsch 5120. It's about 10 years old when they first came out with the 5000 series. I do think the newer ones have things going for them. They're a little better trim, nicer looking, pinned bridge. Everything about them is just a cut above. So although this is just rock solid, find one of these on sale that's barely been used for $300 or $400, that would be a great deal. I think that would be a fine deal. So anyway, that's it for now. So hopefully we'll talk to you later, and see you on some of the chat rooms around. Oh, and if you haven't tuned in, you don't have to be a heavy metal guy, but if you listen to the Tone King or Steve from Boston, you should tune in, because it's a good chat, and all the people in the chat are good, and Steve and Tony King are good people, and they're my main 2 go-to guys that I listen to on YouTube on the music side of things. So there's probably others. There's somebody I'm missing. I do watch Phil McKnight, but I never. Some of his are longer, and I don't always have the time to kind of focus on. I like Phil's a lot too. And oh, Ben Combs, I've been watching him lately from Canada. Give him a shout out. Yeah, and he's a good old school rock and roller kind of. And I guess you'd call him old school. I don't know if he's really old enough to be old school. I know I got about 10 years on him. all the other guitars I've done, I've set the paperwork down here and I'm stepping on it now. That's it for now. Until we see you again, which is going to be in about 10 minutes when I do my next guitar. Go ahead and leave a comment, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye.